Guys, I'm so excited to have Brittany Stokes here with us today. She is the founder of the Tulsa Girls
Girls
Home,
Home.
mhm, and also of Project Orphan. And she's kind of amazing. And so I'm really excited to hear her story. She's also an adopted mama and just wow, like you have done so much. And I'm so excited to kind of hear how you have advocated for just so many niches of people. And so you could go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your family, and then I'm going to dive in with questions.
Yeah, so my name is Brittany Stokes. Like you shared, I am a co-founder with Christina Yared of Project Orphans, which we probably opened, I want to say nearly 11, 12 years ago. And it really was an intentional mission to help other families who were internationally based and taking in kids, whichever way they were bringing them into their home and giving them a permanent residency or a safe place to feel established in that country. And as we know, plans change and things evolve, and it has just kind of grown from being more of a support agent to really fostering changes specifically in Uganda, Africa. And then we have started some domestic projects like the Tulsa Girls Home here, focused on those vulnerable youth and injustices that happen within communities, and really providing a change in a narrative that seems to be like a cycle, and helping humans, youth, kids of all situations really establish a sense of being and safety. We talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs all the time, so that when they see injustice or needs, they feel safe enough to do something about it because they are full and they are filled, and that they can recognize that. And so I always say it's a win when a youth or a child who's been in our program comes to me and says, Miss Brittany or Mama Brittany, there's this kid and I know that this is needed and they need help, and like we have to do this and this is happening and this is wrong, because it shows that security. It shows we've achieved something, that they've been able to now think outside of themselves and provide empathy. And I really think that's what's going to help break some cycles of abuse and chronic poverty and injustices that we see in our systems today. So yeah.
That's so beautiful. You're training them to be advocates for their people.
Yeah,
I
basically.
love that. I love that. I want to talk about the two, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So, first off, the Uganda work that you have done,
Mhm.
you have built like a little village there.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that and all the amenities and how you're serving the community over there? How your work
Yes.
is serving the community over there?
Yeah. So we started about 6 years ago, and really it was to help those who, so Uganda didn't really have like a social work foster care system. And our premise has always been very much against the like mass organized, like orphanage type model. So we basically brought the foster care world and that model of social workers and creating foster care families and support units to keep them in their environment and not be in like a mass like home or institution. And so we work with the police and different social networks and community leaders, village leaders, tribal leaders, and they identify orphans or children who are in extreme abuse and bring them into our program. And we either help them support that family to rehabilitate, or they become basically organization, like children in our foster care community. The needs over there, it's just so vast, and you can't really ask a mom to take care of all her children when you're seeing DV issues and health issues, and their basic needs aren't being met. And so it really just expanded beyond children to like vulnerable populations. And so we have a special needs facility, we have our foster care community, We have a hospital and a birthing center. We also realized like moms took really good care of their children when they could hear that heartbeat and that ultrasound. So we're one of the only, health facilities in a very large radius that provides an ultrasound to that mom, so that she eats better and thinks better about that life that is living and growing inside of her. We have our church, we have some schools that go, from primary nursery to primary, and a lot of advocacy and outreach. I'm probably forgetting something, but it is not done all by me. We have over 50 staff there in Uganda, and they are just incredible. And I've seen such a shift in even their dynamic and thinking that, just going from like living to survive to truly thriving and forward thinking. And I think that's been one of the most amazing parts for myself to see is like goal planning and long-term thought processes, because over there it's just a day-by-day survival. And so being able to help change that mindset is really exciting.
I mean, you're equipping them. Like I loved, like when I was looking through the staff, I'm like, it's not white people, which
Yeah,
whatever, however that sounds, I was just excited it was all like Africans and
yeah,
just cool people.
it's
Like you're empowering
truly,
them.
I think that's a really important key is like we can't just bring our ideas and drop things and go. Um we empower, they know, and I think that's the most important thing that we've seen is we didn't come in with a vision. We came in with tools and support systems and said, how do we get you where you need to go? How do we meet those needs? And even just how they see the need, and even a child who might need to be helped, like what we would view versus them, it's very different. And so respecting those boundaries and those cultural views, and meeting needs that truly need to be met in a way that actually like changes things. George and Sarah are our executive directors, and Josephine is our director of our campus over there. And it just hats off to them, and Dr. Ernest and just all of them who are really leading something that is not very duplicable at all. And so it's an honor to serve them, basically.
I mean, I just love it so much. I read on your site that 16% of Ugandans have a disability. That
Mm-hmm.
seems really high. Is that higher than most?
Yeah, and I think it's very sad because there's like a taboo with that as well. But we see a lot of like nourishment and honestly, fetal alcohol syndrome over there, because they didn't want the pregnancy. There's a lot of rapes and situations there, so they try to take matters into their own hands. But nutrition, there's just so many components that go into that. And when we opened, so there was one girl, her name was Janet, and we had a medical camp that we were hosting. And anyways, this one girl who was in our program, I wanted to see where she lived, so I hop on, it's called a boda, it's like a motorcycle, and I'm like, come show me your house. And so like, I want to go see your house, I want to see where you are. She was new in our program, and so I followed her, and I just heard this like moaning in this home, and I'm like, what is that, like what is going on? And so like knelt down, there was like follow the sound, and there was Janet like covered under all this, blankets and just hidden basically. And she was disabled, and she was the reason why we started Blessings Cove, and really changing the mindset around children with disabilities or people with disabilities, because they're often seen as taboos or a curse. And so they have to live with their curse, but they barely take care of their curse. And so before we built any school, before we built any other program, I remember speaking to the community, and we said, we're going to start taking care of everyone. And this child is just as important as our own or yours. And everyone said there's not going to be that many kids. There's not that many special needs kids. And they started coming out of all corners. And it's honestly one of our harder programs to get kids who have special needs sponsored, which I think is very interesting too. It's very sad that, it's one of our higher costing programs, but I think it's just really a heart condition and a mindset that we have to start changing in people. And so it's really exciting to see these kids thriving, and, Ambrose and the others that are in that program, just who are just mentally even there cognitively, but can't communicate. And you just see this light bulb of like love, after that has come through. And it's really special. But that was a whole journey in itself. A lot of our staff had never held a kid with a disability or special needs, or even like some behavioral special needs or intellectual. And I even think of like Winnie, who they're like, she's mute, like she can't talk. And now she's like a greeter at the church, and she's like, hello, and she talks. And and she was 13 when she was saying her first words. And so, anyways, very special. But yes, it is high. And I would say that number is probably not accurate because of how hidden those children are in the community.
It's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First off, I want to know, I read this daily confession. Is this something that the kids say every day?
Yeah.
Do you know it? Can you tell us what this daily confession is?
I cannot say it on hand. If you would have not brought it up on spot, I would have probably got there.
That's okay. I printed it out because I'm like, I want to teach my
Yeah.
kids this. So
Yeah.
it says, I was created by God for a purpose, and I'm loved, and I have love for others, and I refuse to fear, and I am an overcomer. My story is still being written, and my best days are yet to come.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, I'm printing that out for my kids. Like, that's beautiful.
We call it their mantra. So
I love that.
yeah.
Okay, so my next question. Sponsorships, is that just for people in Uganda sponsoring? Or is this anybody can sponsor and we can help sponsor these kids?
Yeah, so that is just anyone. So we love it, to have these kids connected. My kids sponsor a child each over there, and they can communicate. COVID really taught us a lot about how we had to change our way we communicate versus just letters and those things. And so we built an app. So when you do sponsor a child, their teacher or their social worker, they get to send videos and like go and share your stories, and it really is this dynamic interface that you get to build relationship and support them. I think maybe the children with special needs, it's harder because you're more so communicating with the teacher or a relative or someone from our program. But I mean, it's just so special. So yes, you can do that on our website, projectorphans.org. And then I think it's under Blessings Cove or special needs. If you wanted to sponsor a child with special needs or a disability, it's $35 a month. And then you'll get information on how to download the app, and you can start building relationships, and you get updated pictures as much as you want. So yeah, it's been a great tool. And I love seeing that like continuity and our kids growing with their those kids, and just bringing it all together full circle.
Really excited to go do that in a minute.
Wow.
That's such a cool thing that y'all,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, we've been doing compassion for a long time, and I'm like, why wouldn't they think of that? Like, I think you're so forward thinking. That's amazing.
Yeah, you take all the lemons of life, and we can either get frustrated or stuck with it, or we can take it as opportunities to redefine what it could be for us. And so I think that's something I've learned throughout this whole process of motherhood and foster care and nonprofit building. It's we can complain and we can be frustrated, or we can make it better. And community is really important in all that.
Absolutely. Okay, before we jump into Tulsa,
Mm-hmm.
like, where did this heart for orphans come from? Is this something that your parents taught you, or
Oh, that's a funny
home?
question. Because I was working in corporate America and I did not want to have children. I've never had this like mother bite or itch, I'll always say I'm not the person who's going to be coloring and sitting down on, I it's so weird, but honestly, I think injustice really bothers me. And that part of it. And so, long story short, my best friend Christina, who also is the co-founder, she really had this like heart for orphans through a conference, and it was just weird. Like, it was just planted. Like, one day I just woke up and it was just like this desire. I just kept hearing like Project Orphans, Project Orphans. And again, just wanted to be a support, but not want to be ingrained in it. And I went over to Uganda, and my malaria medication actually canceled my birth control. And that is how I got pregnant. Um, and then I'm holding my daughter Briley, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I cannot imagine what she could feel if I was to not want to love her or be there for her or be in her life. And it just broke my heart in a whole other way. And motherhood took on a whole different meaning and definition for me. And I think that's why it's grown. And I think that's something that it carries throughout our decisions and all the processes that we have in Uganda, Tulsa Girls Home, just mission organizational wide, is like we make decisions as mothers would make decisions. And when you have that mama bear heart, or that mama, you love hard, you fight hard, you research hard, and that's different. And it should be the standard. And so I think that's what we do for our kiddos. And we all bring different components of mother's heart and love. It's so funny. I'm not a hugger. And all the girls home girls and all the PO kids, they always want to hug. And especially the girls home girls, I'm always like, this is like on a daily basis now. Like, I'm having to hug. And they all know it. They definitely don't respect the boundary, which is totally fine, because that's what moms do. Like, you just love. And so, but there are others that like that's their way to give. I'm like, tell me what I need to go fight today, or who I need to go yell at, or which law we need to go change that didn't serve you right, or let's go do that. But anyways, hugging, and that nurturing, it's definitely grown over time. And I think it's strengthened me in different ways. So
Like, if you're to know me at all, I'm a big hugger. And like,
yeah.
I was telling Brittany before we hopped on here, like how obsessed I am with her and how creepy that may sound. So I'm like, and what you're saying right now, I'm like, yes, I just want to hug you. Not about the hugging part, but about
Yeah.
the mama heart and how we're going to advocate and fight for our kids. And what a beautiful thing. I just love it so much. I'm curious well, why don't you tell us about the Tulsa Girls Home first? And then I'm going to wrap around my next question.
Yeah. So, Tulsa Girls Home. So, Project Orphans was ongoing, growing, doing those things. And then I looked at my husband. We had our two biological children, Briley and Kinley. And I was like, we need to do something here. Like, I'm not adopting from Uganda. I love that some people, that's their heart, but like, I know our kids in Uganda are good and they're served and loved. Like, I don't think I needed to do that, if that makes sense. And so, foster care kind of unraveled and opened up. And a lot of people, the judgment there was like so strong, which was crazy. I was like, I thought more people would be like surrounding. That was not our experience. It was, how are you going to do this with two little girls in your home? You are really setting yourself up, for failure and all these things. But I mean, I believe when the Lord tells you to do something, you do it, and he'll give you the grace to get through it. And we have to remind ourselves of that all the time. So we were like, okay, we'll just do kids, like the babies. We just want babies, which I'm not even a baby person. Like, it's so bad. My husband did all the feedings at night. Like, he is the baby whisperer. He loves babies. And I'm like, give them to me around 2. And I would just, anyway, so we're like, we'll go with the safest bet, right? And so the first baby, who we call Bubba, he came 3 days after being born, weaning off of all sorts of drugs, and just shaking. And It just like really broke my heart. And anyways, we have a lot of like tribal laws here. And so after I think it was like 4 to 6 months, he did get transferred to another home, but I do believe it was, I did some like digging, and it was with adoption intent. And so but it was just really, that was our first experience. And then we did some respite, and then we had two boys who were the exact same age as our daughters, and they literally looked all identical. Like it looked like we had two sets of twins. And again, like people were just like, oh, like what is going on? What are you doing? And from there it was just like this, like seeing things in a whole different way, and the system, and um the biases that we have, and we just think to protect ourselves. And then we jumped into this training, which we thought was a training, and there was actually like hundreds of kids there, and it was like this adoption event. They're like, pick one, we'll introduce you. And we're like, this is insane. It's like a puppy event. And like truly it was crazy. And then a teenager, Miracle, came up to us and was like, hey, do you mind talking to me? Because this family is here and they were interested in me last year. And I'm not, they never adopted me, and I really don't want to like go. And we're like, perfect. We'll talk to this teenager who will not adopt. And anyways, long story short, 3 hours later, she was like, hey, would you adopt me and my sister? And I'm like, how do you say no to this kid? And she had been in the care for about 9 years, very underserved. Her sister was not able to stay with us, just due to the needs that she needed, and she had asked for sibling separation. And she had also been abused in foster care for 4 years with a prominent leader in the community who we fought very hard, and he got 7.5 years in jail. And then we realized all the trauma, but beyond trauma, um, fetal alcohol syndrome, drugs, malnourishment, and then intellectual disability of honestly having a teenager who's functioning at a 4 or 5 year old level. And that threw us for a whole wind of learning. And um, and truly, I look at her, and I was a director of a domestic violence and human sex trafficking shelter at the time. And I'm like, this, my daughter would be here, like automatically. And people would assume this is the lifestyle she chose, and not knowing. And being at that shelter, I saw so many women who are touched by foster care and just aging out of the system with no supports or this bias, and truly not even capable of functioning or having those thought processes that us as normal, you know, as us as functioning adults could have. And that really is what prompted the Tulsa Girls Home. Seeing that there was this complete need for not institutionalized care, not cold homes who are profiting off of children, but like a home that poured into girls who need to know their worthiness and love and value, and take every statistic and like literally stomp on it because they can do it. They just need someone to believe in them. And we saw all sorts of biases. And it like literally went national news, and no one wanted to support this group. And still to this day, it's very hard. Um, you know, it's just very frustrating, the daily biases that we have to fight for these girls over and over again.
Feels so, I mean, it doesn't surprise me because I feel like we've hit
Yeah.
the same things all the way. But at the same time, I'm like, it's such a beautiful gift you're giving. How
Yeah.
in the world could people be against this?
I don't know. I just feel like there's a um and really people need to be apologetic in their view of children in foster care. Um Young, old, in
Yeah.
between, female, male, black, white, all in between. Like Christians, non-believers, all of it. Like we got to do better. Um and we have to realize like they're not bad kids. They didn't choose this.
Yeah.
It wasn't their journey. And I always say, like, as a believer, my job here on earth is not to do things that make me feel good. And I know everyone says, oh, like I didn't do this like to make me feel good. Foster care hurts, but like honestly, it is very I always, beyond just hurt, right? Like we experience hurt all the time, emotional hurt, whatever, people let us down, frustratedness, depression, all those things. Like I think in America, just the use of time and like being inconvenienced is very even more so. And foster care and serving and ministry, like true ministry, is being inconvenienced daily. And and we have to be okay with that because it's not our purpose here. And so even here in whether it's Uganda, I'm getting a call, or Tulsa Girls Home, like you drop stuff as a mom to meet that need. And that is so powerful.
Reach. Love it.
So,
Okay. So besides people hopping on and sponsoring a sweet child over in Uganda right now, what else do we need to do to support you and love on all the girls you're loving on and all the people that you're loving on?
well, I think here, like, as far as like advocacy, I mean, you guys are doing it. Like, you talked about like being foster care parents and loving and like not critiquing anyone's way of doing something. Like, I think we got to like really be okay with being honest. Like, it's okay to not agree. And it's okay to say we all really don't know. We're just doing our best. And I think with the girls' home specifically right now, like it's hit me in the face how like unless these girls are going back to abusive situations or and if they are not capable of going to college, which is a joke that we're going to think 90% of our kids in foster care are going to just go into traditional college setting and thrive, they are meeting homelessness very real in their face. And it smacked me in the face when they were like, well, I'm turning 18 soon. Can I just come live in your backyard and put a tent? And I'm like, I cannot have a bunch of girls living in my home. And I looked at my husband, I'm like, but I'm not going to say no. Like, so we got to figure out something. So we're getting ready. We are launching and we have launched TGH2, which is for our girls who are aging out of Tulsa Girls Home, who are in part-time, college or part-time tech school or part-time or full-time employment, just all doing something and needing that like stepping stone because that's what a mom would do. And it's like, again, like, yeah, we helped him get to 18, wahoo, but like what comes next? And if we're gonna really like change it from me having to take care of or you having to take care of or anyone else having to take care of their babies, like we got to hold their hand. And like women are so powerful. And when it clicks in one of our girls' minds and like that self-determination and resiliency is there, whether they have a disability or whatever, like there's nothing stopping them. They just need, like in Uganda, those resources and those tools and an unbiased view of who they are and loving them. And so that's kind of a big part of what we're doing. I think so much we think of like foster care during Christmas and those special holidays, but it's 24/7. And those needs are needing to be met 24/7. And so just any support there always is really appreciated.
Okay, I want to be your best friend. I'm so grateful that you came on today and shared
Yeah.
everything you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for advocating and bringing awareness. It's so important.
You're so welcome.